Tuesday night principal Chiro broadcast from DE and Band of Brothers. I'm Dr. Brian Moriarty. That's Dr. Brian Lieberman over there. We got Emma in the house. Hi, Emma. What do you want to say?
I love DE.
Woo! And we're on here on the Tuesday night call. We're going to have our special guest, Dr. Ryan Dopps, in a minute here. But we got DE coming up, Lieberman. Are you pumped for DE?
Absolutely, my friend. What is that, July 20-something? 27th to 30th. There it is.
Yes. Thank you, Rachel.
Right in Atlanta, yes.
July 27th to the 30th in Atlanta, then October 19th to the 22nd, also in Atlanta. And remember that October 19th is the Chiro Cup by the Georgia Council of Chiropractic. So all you golfers, oh, boom, look at Kat right there on the overlays. You don't want to miss this 6th annual Chiro Cup. I've been at every single one of them, Emma. It is the most fun you will ever have playing golf, having fun.
He remembers 2 of them.
Yes. and me and Lieberman are the defending champs, Emma. Can you believe that? So
nobody believes it.
Look at her face. So Lieberman, is that a fun time? Is that like
oh my God, it's
like one of my favorite days of the year.
It is great. It is such a good time. It is like all-inclusive golf tournament where you pull up and there's breakfast and Bloody Mary bars and the Tito's girls are there and the free beer on it and raffles for all sorts of cool stuff and then lunch afterwards and just we have a blast. We have an absolute blast.
Yes, I can't wait. I'm obviously in. We're the defending champions, so Team Dynamic Essentials will be back.
Yeah,
Martinez,
Moriarty, Lieberman, and Judson.
Yep. And by the way, in 2 more days, what are you celebrating, Emma?
My birthday.
And how old are you going to be?
5.
Oh, my God. A full hand.
Emma's going to be 5 on Thursday, so happy birthday to Emma.
Happy birthday, Em.
Yes, and DE, make sure you make your plans for DE, guys. July, that's like, what is that, 5.5 weeks away? You don't want to miss that. We have got a great schedule of speakers. We've got some people who haven't been in a while coming back. It's going to be an epic time. So go to lifede.com and get registered and have another fun time at DE. Are you coming, Emma?
Yes.
Yeah, you wouldn't miss DE, would you?
No.
All right. I can't wait. So, Brian, I want to talk a little bit with you before about our speaker coming up here. We got Dr. Ryan Dopps, and we want to talk a little bit about what's been going on with him, and he's going to provide an update. But I wanted to see if you'd share some thoughts, about the Dopps family and about what we could do maybe to help them out.
We, I hope, I'm pretty sure most people know in here that Denise has been struggling with some health stuff, cancer-wise, and, really exhausted her options here in the States. And I don't want to tell all the story, but basically this is what it comes down to. I think what we should do is really talk about that after, because I'm hoping, Dopps is going to give an update on where they are in Mexico and what's going on and why we're going to need to hit up a pretty good second round, another round of fundraising for the Dopps family. He was just sharing about, you talk about all in there, they've been in a 1-bedroom apartment in Tijuana for 5 weeks. And, finally they just found an egg crate for their, little egg crate type mattress to put on the floor for their son to sleep on. He's been sleeping on 2 blankets and a tile floor because it's working. And but we got to get some more time, and that's going to come with funds. And so we're going to be going all out to try to make sure that we raise enough so that they can stay as long as they need to. They've been there about 5 weeks, and about another week, and they'll probably be finished with what they have now from what we've done before, money-wise, funds-wise. And that's just not that's what keeps them up at night. And so we're all going to work on fixing that.
And I was so proud to see so many people donating at that last round. I mean, people donating large chunks of money to help this family and showing up for our brother and sister and their kids. And you're right. They're in a 1-bedroom apartment, and we didn't mention, but there's not much air conditioning in Tijuana, Mexico. It's pretty hot there, from what I can gather, but it's working, and she's coming around, and there's a GoFundMe out there, guys, and you can do it privately as well, just through Ryan. But
I see that Kat just said she
got the link, in the comments, So do what you can. We'll talk about this a little bit afterward once we hear a little bit more about it. But thank you to everyone for all that you've done, because it's making a huge difference, and I'm hoping that Ryan will share a little bit about how it is. So, Lieberman, anything else you got?
That's it. I want to hear from Ryan, man.
All right. From originally from Kansas, now living in Tijuana, Mexico. Give it up for Dr. Ryan Dopps. Take it away, Dopps. We love you, man.
Hey, there I am. Man, it's great to be here, first and foremost. This whole thing is so surreal. Just listening to you give the intro, it still doesn't feel like reality. Denise is such a warrior, and watching her go through what she's been going through the last 3 years. I mean, her head's clear. She's convicted on what she's doing and what she's living for, and that's it's just so amazing. So I want to start right now, obviously, with the attitude of gratitude for being on the call, for being part of this group of amazing humans, right? Gratitude for everybody who's helped out and partnered with us along the way. Something like this is not doable. I see the other people in the clinic down here, and my mind just can't comprehend what these people have to go through to be here, because this place, number one, the facility is amazing, but number two, it's not cheap. But what they're doing is working, like you guys had mentioned, and I'll get to that here as we get going. But I wanted to have some gratitude. Let me back up first to God, right, for moving mountains, and for you guys partnering and being humble and obedient and listening to that voice within when something pulled on your heartstring to say help out. I can't thank you guys enough. So the week leading up to Mother's Day was really tough. Denise had she had been slipping quite a bit, and we were getting into some dangerous territory with really bad issues in the abdomen, really bad issues, and it was getting pretty crazy. I reached out to Steve quite a bit and just kind of like leaning on him and talking with him. And Brian, a couple months, probably 6-7 months ago, had mentioned the Immunity Therapy Center down here in Tijuana, because he has a friend that had been down here and got results. And honestly, I didn't put it on the back burner. It was just something that was like, cool, we'll get there. And Steve kind of put the flame to my ass, so to speak, to say like, dude, what do we got to do? And the reality is like, we've been everywhere. We've been, through the natural systems at home. We've gone, and you guys probably know a lot of this, but just to recap, we've gone to Mayo, we've been to Washington University, we've been to the East Coast, we've been to the West Coast. She's been down to Peru. We've been everywhere we can go, looking for something that just helps shift her metabolically back into a state where her body can heal. And we've seen results in places. She spent 5 weeks in Denver a couple years ago, and we saw some good results there, but nothing's really just like whipped this thing. And it's exhausting when you are looking at it. And so I'm so proud of her for what she's been enduring, and how this whole thing's gone. So as we started putting the pieces together, there was no doubt that we needed the kids here with us. There's no doubt that I needed to be here the whole time. So, Mason has been like, I can't imagine my life without him. And, it comes back to like DE again, because I met him at DE, you know, and him and I had a relationship for years before he started working with us. And he's able to be back at home and keep the office up and running and serving our people so that I can be here with her. And so I don't know if I've ever called him Dr. Hal, but Dr. Hal, if you're on here, man, I love and appreciate you, buddy. I really appreciate what you're doing for us. And he's selfless. He's not asking for anything. He's just there serving and just doing his thing and keeping the numbers where they need to be. So that we can stay down here. So, you know, Mother's Day week was really tough. Denise was dealing with some issues that we had kind of seen coming a little bit, but not to the severity that we experienced. Steve and I were in communication, like I said, throughout the week. If you guys haven't seen Denise's video where she was playing the ukulele and singing "Stand By Me," that thing just made me bawl. If you haven't seen it, you should go watch it. It's beautiful. And Steve asked what that was all about, you know, and it was just like, I was like, you know, I don't know. I hadn't seen it yet. So we were kind of breaking it all down and where she was at. And it just really felt like her heart was just opened up to say, like, she needs help. And so there was a select group of people that chipped in, and within a few hours we had enough to get us here and do an initial 3 weeks. And it couldn't have came at a better time. Saturday night before Mother's Day was really tough. Denise was having a really hard time, couldn't get anything moving. She'd been, and I hope this isn't, you know, TMI, but she couldn't get anything going through her intestines. And the thing that when we found this 3 years ago, the symptoms were identical, right? We were watching this thing essentially close down and narrow in on the colon and cutting off her ability to have a bowel movement. And we didn't know, but we got into the hospital, and she had scans, and she did a barium study and all of these things, and it was bad. And so the morning of Mother's Day, 2 a.m., she rolls over, not being able to sleep, trying enemas, trying all of these things to get a bowel movement to happen because of the pain and the distension of the stomach. And she rolls over to me, and neither one of us were asleep. We couldn't, because she was in such bad shape. And she just leans over. She's like, "I think I'm dying," and that's the worst freaking words you could ever hear. So it's all right, let's go. And so we went I woke my son up, and I go, "Hey man, I'm taking mom to the hospital. Like, we're going." So, the news breaks of what's going on after these scans and what's going on inside. And it was out of control. It was absolutely out of control. And we had this place on our radar. Thank you to the group of people who stepped up and gave, because I can't even express my thank you and my gratitude for that appropriately. Man, sorry, I feel like I'm all over the place, but there's a lot of emotions. I haven't been here. This thing's gone so fast. We basically got out of the hospital, and within 5 days we were in Mexico, and it's been pedal to the metal ever since. When we got down here, just as a reference, when you're in an optimal state of health, you have there's a marker for colon cancer that they watch for. It's called CEA. It's carcinogenic embryonic antigen. And so as you're a baby and your intestine is lengthening in size, you have a high CEA amount because the tissue is lengthening. You're growing longer intestines. But once you reach maturity and you're not developing anymore, your CEA drops down to near nothing. So a normal reading on blood work would be 0 to 2.5. There is some, like if you're a smoker and there's things where your tissue is regenerating, you can have a CEA of about 5. When we discovered Denise's cancer in January of 2020, her CEA was about at a 36. Anything over 20, they consider cancer. Anything over 30 is usually stage 4. All right. So just to kind of get some context of where we're at right now, at a 36 in January of 2020, her colon was closed 90%. So much so that when they went to put the scope in for the colonoscopy, they couldn't even get the camera through the lumen where the tube in the intestines where the cancer was blocking it. When we got down here, they ran her CEA, and it was 3,000. So when we got here, things weren't good. We knew that from being in the hospital. We knew that from the CEA. And so, we're all in. It's the only place to be. There is no plan B at this point. Traditional chemo has not worked. She did this program with Wash U in St. Louis. We've been in St. Louis every other weekend from April of 22 until the first week of May this year. So every other week for a year, we've either, I think we've flown maybe 5 times, but other than that, maybe 4 times. Every other time we've driven it. It's a 7-hour drive from Wichita. So, I mean, just think of, I don't know, just whatever, just letting you know kind of where we've been. And her CEA had been fairly stable, but in February, it started to rise up a little bit, and it started to rise a little bit more. And we didn't have a reading in May or in April that Wash U had done that we had seen. So, for it to hit 3,000 was just like, it floored us. So we get down here and, we start to understand some of the therapies. I pulled this sheet out just so that, showing Lieberman and Moriarty, but this is Denise's weekly schedule. So each day in a column here, the amount of therapies and the things that they do down here is it's absolutely incredible. Anybody who's talked to me in the last 3 years, that I've been studying and obsessing over this because I have to. And I found a little bit of passion with it, obviously, because it's drastically important, but the fascination with how my mind works and solving the problems. And I think just being a chiropractor, we look for cause, right? And we don't, effect is important. It's important to have compassion for the effect, but the cause is what we're always about. And as we went around from place to place, on the medical side, nobody looked for cause. It was always effect. And I really, towards the end of the program at Washington University, it became more apparent every single time that we sat down with these guys that BJ's statement of medicine being the study of disease and the things that cause a person to die, and chiropractic being the study of health and the things that cause a person to live. I've always loved that quote, but we're living that quote, right? We're living that as we practice in our offices every day. We're living that as we take care of our kids and our families, the way we raise them and the way we show up when we need to, is that we are obsessed with life. We're obsessed with life. And I think that's a really important point. And I text this to the group that stepped up initially. I wish I could create a text thread that could go to everybody who's helped out so far. But that banner that we have at DE, right? Nothing is bigger than life. And you all showed up, and you guys, you literally put your money where your mouth is. And that is something incredible that I don't know too many groups of people that would do that for their colleagues. And to think about, Dean always talks about plumbers and how they do they do what we do with DE, and do they act the way we do? I don't know a group of plumbers that would step up for their brothers. I don't know a group of Toyota dealers that would step up for their brothers like this. It is absolutely amazing what people have done to help us get here, because it was our Hail Mary. And I want to say that proudly that it's working. It's working. We did scans last 3 weeks, and her CEA being at 3,000 when we got here was at 1,500. And that's still absolutely astronomical, incredibly high. But like in 3 weeks' time, they've been able to change the terrain inside. They've been able to hit it from the outside. And what they're doing is making a huge, huge impact. Being logic minded, evidence minded, whatever you want to say. I wanted to see updates. I wanted to see where we were at in the blood work before looking at anything else, because they had talked about, like, hey, we should prolong this. Most people that come in with Denise's condition at her stage, at her severity, we recommend 6 weeks, and so that 3-week mark was really important for me, just to see kind of where we were at with things. But like, her mindset's never wavered. When we were sitting in the hospital on Mother's Day, like I said, we went in about 2 a.m. We didn't leave until 5 p.m. That's a rough way to spend Mother's Day, and my heart breaks for her that she went through it like that. We didn't leave the kids there all the time. My mom came over. It was all good. Nobody called CPS, but we had them taken care of, and somebody was at the house before they woke up. So, but we're sitting there in the midst of, like, no joke, one of the biggest freaking crises you could ever hear is that your intestines are blocked again. Like, things aren't good. They were prepped they had called Denise's colorectal surgeon in. She came and spoke with us, and she's like, yeah, it's bad. We're not, there's no way out of this, basically. And they basically, they said, they came in and they're like, we're prepping for surgery. We are going to remove your colon. We can't get the tumors out, but we need to, like, basically bypass this blockage that we have. And this is a testimony to her conviction of who she is. Just a chiropractor at her core. She looks this surgeon in the eye. She's like, so what's the other option? Because that doesn't sound like a good plan. If I take out my colon, like, I have no immune system. And if I'm going to beat this, like, I need my immune system there. And the guy just kind of, like, leans back in the chair, and he's like, well, you could do soft foods and juice, and, and basically just, like, try to let everything just stay liquid and move through there. And she's like, yeah, I think that sounds like a good idea. And I'm looking at her, I'm like, whoa, like, I was ready to get on the table and get my colon taken out, because I was that freaking scared of what was going on. And with her strength and conviction in who she is, and trusting the innate ability of her body, the way God designed it, that she needs that intestine to keep her a healthy immune balance going, like, that's principle, right? That's principle when it freaking matters, because, like, anybody would have been, definitely every normal person out there, non-chiropractor, would have done it. And I guarantee, myself included, 99% of us would have said, yeah, cool, that's what we need to do. It's crisis mode. There's a time and place. Let's do it. So the doctor's like, okay, I'll get that signed off, and he leaves the room. The nurse comes in. She's like, all right, well, we're going to take you upstairs. And Denise's like, oh, no. We talked to the doctor, and he's going to let us, we're going to do I'm not going to do surgery. And the nurse is like, okay, I'll get the AMA around. And she kind of, like, huffs and puffs and leaves, and we look at each other and we're like, AMA, and it was a form that she was going to get that we were going against medical advice. So she comes back in, and Denise goes, she's like, hey, so how does, like, health insurance handle this, like, with this AMA and all that? And she's like, oh, you go against medical advice, and none of this is covered, basically, because you're going against what the doctor said. She goes, well, then you need to go talk to him, because the orders may not be put in yet. We're going a different route that's more conservative, and I'm not going against his advice. I'm going with his advice, right? And so, I mean, just to be so grounded in who she is in that moment, maybe it doesn't sound like a big deal, but I was just taken back, because I was like, dang, this girl, like, she's literally staring at a freight train coming at her, and, like, she's still grounded in who she is and knowing what she's doing, and she's got her wits about her. And it's just amazing. It's been absolutely amazing just watching her function and move through this. So, down here, life is definitely a little bit different, for sure, because I'm not adjusting people. I'm finding people to adjust. The bus driver, I adjusted him today. There's a guy across the hall. I'm going to go adjust him tonight. I'm finding people. My kids they're like, Dad, have you ever been out of the office for this long? And I was like, no, you're going to start adjusting everybody on the streets of Tijuana because you can't go this long without adjusting people. And maybe that's true, but I'm okay with it because it's the principles that we serve. The facility, I don't want this to be a commercial, but gosh, man, I would absolutely recommend this to anybody. They're doing all of the things. Lieberman texted me, I think twice this last week. Steve's texted me 2 or 3 times this week, just the different Instagram posts, TikTok videos of like, hey, check this out. What do you think of this? And my response is actually, I can probably just start copying and pasting it because it's like, bro, they're doing it here. They're doing it. Everything from sodium bicarbonate IVs to mag rays, like magnetic resonance rays, to she's doing these, it's called sonotherapy, where they put these certain vitamins, and everything's natural, right? Everything's natural. Putting these drops in her mouth, right? She swallows these drops. These drops have a propensity to go find cancer cells, and then they hit her with sound therapy. And the sound therapy causes these vitamins to vibrate, and it causes the cancer cells to die. They're doing B17 Laetrile injections, IV drips. If you haven't ever researched B17 with Laetrile and apricot seeds, like that's a whole nother thing that's you can't do in the States, right? As we started talking about this, and people were like, well, what do they do down there that's so great? I'm talking to practice members about being gone for 3 weeks, and the easy response is that they're doing everything that the FDA says is too effective for cancer. And we're seeing that because as we watch people come in and come out of the clinic, some people have been here, obviously not everybody started when Denise does, so there's this overlap of care with people. One of our friends, a guy from Oklahoma, just got news today. He was stage 4 lung cancer. He got the all clear today. And, he's this old farmer, and he's sitting there in the booth in the cafeteria at lunch, and he's got his hands like this, but like you could see that's all you can see. And he was so freaking happy because when he was here, he had a granddaughter, and like he missed the birth of his granddaughter, but like he's gonna have more time with her now, and that's like freaking amazing. But he was so happy. You could just see the little crow's feet, right? Because he was sitting there smiling underneath of his hands, and it was the most adorable, inspiring thing. And so happy for people down here, right? So happy that people have found this and that people have come alongside them to partner to get them here. And it's remarkable. So, all that being said, we're not out of the woods. We've got a re-exam next week to do, like I said, the redo of the CEA and a CT to kind of look at things. We had the scan from the hospital that we brought down the week before we got here. And so we're going to be able to, put apples to apples and see what's changed and what hasn't changed. Like I mentioned at the top of this, I'm so thankful for Mason being available and understanding where we're at, or having compassion for us, and just being able to drive the boat right now. And I don't know what the next few weeks look like. I'm staying faithful, in God that this thing is just it's just gonna continue to move the right direction. One thing that we did at the 3-week part that I thought was pretty sweet, just being a science lover and a bit of a nerd, they did 4 days. There's 2 therapies that they coupled together, or procedures that were outside of the program. And again, thanks to your guys' ability just to be abundant and give, we were able to say yes to everything that they've recommended down here. These 2 therapies is a macrophage stimulation. So it's a bone marrow stimulation. So they gave 4 days of injections that were designed to stimulate the bone marrow and get more white blood cells, natural killer cells, dendritic cells, and stem cells. So, when you look at blood work, your normal white blood cell count should be between 3 and 10,000. they ramped her white blood cells, ramped her immune system up to 30,000. Then she had a port put in her chest that was basically an in and an outlet. They took blood out, they spun it in this massive machine, the centrifuge, right? It pumped the blood out. They spun it and they spun off all the white blood cells, dendritic cells, stem cells, natural killer cells that had all been elevated over this 4-day period. And they captured it in this IV, and this process was about 6 to 8 hours that she had to be hooked up to this machine. It was all day. We didn't get out of the clinic until like 9 o'clock that night. And then they went back and they dripped that back in. And so it was this massive immune boost, something sweet that we did. We're big fans of the. If you guys have ever looked up that book or heard of the book of the hidden messages in water, it's by a Japanese researcher. Miyamoto, maybe I can't think of his name off the top of my head, but basically what he did was he looked at they took samples of water. And they had people come in and say, meditate, think of like these different phrases, right? And then in that instance, they flash froze them. And so when you look at the messages in words of encouragement and positivity, it makes these beautiful crystalline structures, but words of negativity, words of hate make these jagged, sharp, nasty looking structures. And it's just water. And so we talk to the kids about it, and the power of prayer, right? Praying over your food. If most of our food is water, like what are the intentions that we're putting into the food before we eat it? We know physically through this dude's research that you can change the actual structure of this water to be more resonant with our bodies. And so as this bag is hanging over before they pumped it in, we took out the Sharpie and we're writing all over it: love, healing, abundance, right? The blood of Jesus. We're writing these things on it. Just like we're turbocharged it, man, they're doing it, but we're bringing our aspect to it as well. So that was number one, was the MCA. And then the second one is they went in and they actually, through guided ultrasound, they went and found a tumor in her liver. And they went in and they did a biopsy, sent it out. And the term vaccine is the easiest term for normal people here, patients, to understand what they're doing, right? But it was nothing like a vaccine. They took a sample of the tissue, and they created, through the proteins in the cancer cell, they created basically a cocktail that, as her immune system's heightened from the MCA, and we start to throw in now this vaccine, right? Now her body's literally being programmed to look for these certain protein patterns that are only found in cancer cells to fight it. And that program is going to continue for another 2.5 months after we leave. She'll do a twice a week injection that doesn't look like it feels too good, but she's tough and she's doing it. And that was only available because we had support from people, and it's going to make a difference. It already is. I know it. So the 1,500 on the CEA was before we had done both of those therapies. So I'm just so taken back by everything that they're doing down here, and so thankful that we're here. I think my faith has been something that's held me strong through this. And I know Denise's faith is too. I can only talk from my journey on what's been revealed to me. And I know that she's doing so much work just with prayer and meditation, and like she's so strong in that. But I lean heavily on my foundation. And the thing that I want to maybe share, that I think is the most important thing that I can say tonight, is that, man, in the midst of the storm, like, God's got you. And like my faith and trust in God obviously has grown like so much through all of this, that somebody told me in the very beginning that God's brought us this far, so he's not going to abandon us now. And I've really just like held on to that like we are who we are because of how we were created, and the things that make me tick, and the things that make me that motivate me, and the things that that I'm inspired by. Like, he paired us together because I'm exactly who she needs and she's exactly who I need. And the idea, Romans 8:28 is probably one of my favorite verses. I've probably shared it from the stage by now. You guys probably already know it, but like, it's that God makes all things work for good for those who love him and are called according to his purpose. And like, there's some things in there that I think are important, that, you know, the idea of predestination, that it's like, well, God knew it was going to happen, but like, he didn't step in to fix it. Like, that's not how it goes, because in the Bible, there's plenty of places where you can see that, you know, there's foreshadowing or prediction that's going to happen. And then, like, because of the faithfulness of somebody, like, it changes the events of the future. And when we're faced with something like this, like, this isn't from God, right? This is of the world. This is attack from the enemy to get us off of our path. And I think that when we have the opportunity to stay faithful, to stay humble and obedient to the will of God moving in our life, like, that's where we're the most targeted. And so, you know, as we do the work that we're doing in our lives, like, there's storms that are definitely going to come. And just because the boat's rocking and because it's, you know, the lightning's crashing and it feels like all hell's breaking loose, like, God's still with us. And I can tell you right now that, like, his mercy is demonstrated in how we've been held through this whole process. Like, God is still so merciful that we can be here in the midst of not having any other answer, any other place to turn to, like, that there is still a Hail Mary that we can throw in order to be able to get the results that we will. I've always said, anybody who's ever, you know, we've ever talked to, like, I've always held a conviction in my heart that she's beating this. Like, she's beating this. There's no other option. It's freaking taken us forever, and I wish I would have listened to Lieberman maybe 9 months ago and just done it, but it wasn't the right time. You know, we needed to go through whatever we needed to go through in order to get to this point and get here now. And like, that's where we're at. And, you know, the love that this community has shared, it's crazy. I know you know, for all the reasons of, you know, Denise's health and COVID and all the things, like, I haven't been as present at DE as I had been in the past, but like, I'm still through and through. Like, I'm there and I watch it online, and I can't thank this community enough for being who you guys are. And Kat, thanks for putting the "nothing is bigger than life" up top there. I don't think there's a better thing to have up there right now than that, because like I said, you guys have put your heart where that banner's at. You know, you guys have put your heart, your mind, your energy, your finances. You guys have helped out so much, and I just really appreciate it. Man, stay strong, stay abundant, stay focused on life, stay focused on God. Like, get that relationship tight, because you need that. You need that as a foundation for yourself. You need it for your kids. You need it for your community. We have to be tight on that, and that's. I think that's the biggest message that I can share with you guys tonight is flex that faith muscle, man. Like, work it out, spend some time in prayer, spend some time with God, because when it comes down to it, like, we're not strong enough to do this without him. You know, we're not strong enough to do it without him. There's a thought that's just like, we're able to be here because of the community that we have through DE. And I think about the role that I've played in DE in the last, it's going to be 10 years in December, which is really, really wild, or January, excuse me. Moriarty, correct me if I'm wrong on that, but I think we're coming up on the 10-year mark in January. And I think about maybe the influence that I've had on the community. And like, it's just weird to think that we're down here because I was able to make an impact in somebody's life. And there's people that I could name drop right now. Maybe it's important to, maybe it's not, but like, you guys know who you are. Like, there's people that have given consistently over these 3 years that I don't know that I've had much of a relationship with, and I feel like I feel like a dirtbag because of it. Because like, when you get up there on stage, like I'm going to be completely transparent. Sometimes it's just ego. Sometimes it's just ego that you want to get up there, and like I have to say, like the message going forward is, I don't know how it's going to be different, but it has to be, because it's not about me. It's not about me standing in a spotlight talking to 300 of my close friends. I mean, it's an echo chamber. Of course, what I'm going to say up there, people are like, yeah, that was awesome. Right. But like, how can we make an impact through our conversations at DE? How can we make an impact in 10 years in January? How can we make an impact? How can we do it that it's not ego? Because when push comes to shove, like there's something that I've done for you guys to respond like this. And I'm so humbled by that. I'm so humbled by that. So from the bottom of my heart, from Denise's, I think she was going to pop out, but she's laying down because this thing's tough, man. This clinic is tough. It kicks her butt every day. From my kids' hearts, and they're doing so good. They're watching Puss in Boots right now. So from their hearts, like, I just want to say thank you from all of us. Thank you for being who you are when the rubber hits the road. Like, you guys have shown up and you guys have blessed us, and I really appreciate it. And I can say these words and I mean them, that I love and appreciate each and every one of you. And thank you. I think I'm probably good.
Well, I have a lot.
You guys aren't glistening like I'm glistening down here in Tijuana. I'm a shiny mess right now.
Yeah, I'm
glistening from the tears.
Yeah, exactly. I'm so proud of you guys. I couldn't be any more proud of Denise for what a fighter she is, and what your family is doing, and the sacrifices you guys are all making to just try to help her life, man. Just live.
It's life, man.
I hope everybody will dig deep and realize that hopefully it'll never come for them, but any one of our times can come where this community will do what we've always talked about: give, love, and serve out of our own abundance with no expectation of return. And there's probably no more important time than right now for us to do that. So
absolutely, I appreciate
it. I've looked at that nothing is bigger than life for years up there, but I don't think it was ever better personified than tonight by Ryan Dopps. And it really made me think that there isn't anything bigger than life. And I know you were tearing up, Ryan, but me and my wife Laura were crying our eyes out here the whole time. I'm sure Lieberman was too. And I just appreciate you opening up your heart. I know it's a very personal story, and you shared probably more than even you knew you were going to share tonight. But I thought it was a beautiful message. It was so honest and raw, and I was on the edge of my seat the whole time listening to you. And I just hope, Denise is such a fighter. It's so incredible. Amazing to watch what she goes through. It's so amazing to see you, and you take care of those kids, so she can do this. And
Team Denise.
Yeah, it was so beautiful. I just
thank you.
So
thank you.
One of the things
nothing's bigger than life. That's it.
I hope people will give whatever they can, or more than they can even, but also just share it. You never know. I mean, I cannot believe the amount of just not amount, but how some patients will just want to help, or my parents want, just there's so many random people who just who want to help. And then so just please share, even let's say you can give nothing, keep sharing the link, and let's try and get some energy through it again, because it works when we do it.
Give anything. Any amount is helpful. Any amount is helpful. And if you've given before, you can give again and again. This stuff is working down here, and we need to step up and support our brother. 10 years in January, it's going to be Ryan at DE, and it's
Right.
So we love you, man. We love
Love
the
you,
Dopps
Doc.
family. We're praying for you
Tell
guys
them
every
each.
day. Love to the kids. And
Thank you. I can tell you, the idea of like, how has DE changed my life? Like, I don't think I need to record a video for it. I think you guys are watching it right here,
Yeah.
And I've said it in the talk, and I don't know any other profession. I don't know any other group. I don't know any church. I don't know anything and I'm not trying to put DE on this pedestal of anything, but like the idea of being humble and obedient and giving out of your own abundance and serve. I mean, all of the cliche things. Like, I'm so proud of this community because they're not cliche things, right? They're not things that are said just tongue in cheek because it's easy to high five each other in the hall and be like, cool, your ski boat's doing good, mine too, abundance, all right, right? I mean, it's not that at all. It's that there is nothing bigger than life, and unfortunately, we've been put into this spot for whatever reason, right? Or maybe not a reason. Maybe it's just because it's the enemy attacking us, like I said. But like, when we're sorry, I feel like I'm going back into something I'm not trying to. But like, as we go, like, as we've been walking this road, and she's been otherwise pretty healthy, it's easy to like, yeah, cool, we're gonna be good. But gosh dang, man, that week of Mother's Day, like, it was the most terrifying thing I've ever witnessed. And, my heart goes out. I thought of Tim Zook. I thought of Dana Bechter. I thought of Matthew Albert. I've thought of these people who have gone through these situations in life that are these curveballs. And I love you guys, man. Like, you guys are so strong, and it's it. Nothing's bigger than life.
You're awesome, brother. All my love and prayers, man. You guys just hang in there, and we'll try to do what we can on this end. So I feel like we're doing something at least.
I love you guys. The one thing I will say that Lieberman, you got it going, which I appreciate this, but like, the Venmo is definitely better than the GoFundMe. GoFundMe takes some funds. It's easy if you feel inclined to give, that's great. But the Venmo definitely
what's your
works
Venmo,
better.
Ryan? Sorry, what's your Venmo? Can you share that? I've been getting tons of texts. What's his Venmo? So if you could just share.
Yeah, I think it's just Ryan Dopps. Let me look it up here real quick. And it doesn't matter. Do whatever. I don't want to be like weird like that, but it's just at Ryan-Dopps.
Let's do what works best, man.
Yeah.
And like you're saying, you can do it anyway, but if you have Venmo and it's an option, then use it.
Right. What is it? One more time, Ryan.
At Ryan-Dopps. I'll send it.
There it is.
Yeah,
there it is. Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we'll
Thank
get that
you.
all over. We'll get that all over the Facebook page, and then that's what we'll start spreading on top of the GoFundMe, and even ask people to do that on Facebook. So, all right.
Thank you, guys.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right. Love. We'll talk to you soon.
Love you guys.
Okay. All right. Keep you guys
Ryan,
updated.
good
Love
luck.
you. Thank you.
Love you.
Thanks, buddy.
Bye.
Love you too, man. Bye-bye.